we are an enterprise networks and cybersecurity specialist based in Chester, here in England. We do not really stray outside of enterprise networks and cybersecurity. On that front, we have a 24/7 managed network and security operations centre here, staffed by network and security analysts. We've been operating that now for a number of years, and that's on our managed service front. We also deliver network and security projects. We've been identified as one of Cisco's next generation partners, and that's due to some of the solutions you're going to see today. We're one of the few partners in the UK that are pushing ahead with solutions like this, especially in the cloud space, putting a lot of this security technology into the cloud. I've got a whole team here of network security analysts. I've got security analysts, penetration testers, governance, compliance people. You know, we like to think we can do a hell of a lot within that network and security space here. And we've got over 1,000 customers across the UK and overseas. So yeah, it's been a busy period of growth for Protos in the last couple of years. What I'll start off with then is Cisco Meraki at the access layer. Before I do that, I'll just give a once over then on the Meraki platform. So those of you who've worked with Cisco Meraki before may have known it as the Meraki dashboard. The Meraki dashboard still exists. However, now we're saying it's a platform. So it's not just I'm going to cover wireless and switching today. They're the solutions alongside MX firewalls and security appliances that Meraki first started out with. However, more and more is going into the Meraki platform. So as you'll see in the next slide, there's smart camera sensors, things like that. The environment has an open API, so we can integrate from Cisco's marketplace, different tools, guest access portals, all of that good stuff. And what we're aiming to do here is really power the workplace, remote and hybrid working, which I'll show you later with the SASE, and smart spaces as well. So, you know, alongside cameras and sensors and things like that. And that leads into the sustainability piece. You know, for example, could we turn off all of our switch ports at night to save on power? Yes, we could. That makes our businesses smart, our buildings smart, and our organisations more sustainable. So then, what is the Meraki environment all about then? So it's a foundation for IT and now IoT, the Internet of Things. And these are some of the solutions that obviously Cisco Meraki provide. Those of you who are already Meraki customers will know wireless, access points, switching, mobile device management, you know, management of iPads, Androids, things like that. Very big in education. We've done a lot of that in education over the years. On the WAN, the SD-WAN side, obviously there's security and SD-WAN appliances, the MX and the Z series. And then we've also got cellular gateways, the MGs now, where you can have multiple SIM cards within a device, what we're calling wireless WAN there. Then recently, Meraki have been moving more and more into the IoT space, so smart cameras, sensors, all good stuff like that. You know, and we're starting to do a lot of this with our clients now, especially in like data centers and comms rooms, whereby if a door opens, a smart camera takes a picture. If the temperature is too high in the rack, we take a picture, or we send an alert to an operations center, whatever that looks like. So that is where we're going with that. All of that obviously can be managed by the Meraki platform, and the key part of that Meraki platform is the good old Meraki dashboard, which I will demo. I'm not going to demo the whole dashboard, but you'll see a bit of that near the end. There are also a hell of a lot of tailored solutions, so you can go away and build your own custom applications. You know, we've done stuff internally here. We've got our own automation flows here, whereby if someone comes in the office outside of business hours, it takes a picture of the door open and sends it to our 24/7 operations center, security operations center, just so we know who's accessing our office out of hours. There's also a whole heap of technical partners that Meraki have on apps.meraki.io. And this could, you know, be anything from monitoring the sustainability levels in your building, monitoring footfall from APs, guest access, all of that good stuff. So there's a whole heap of different integrations and solutions and applications that we can integrate into that Meraki platform, so your organization gets more from its investment in Meraki. But today we're talking about access. And specifically for me, as an old, I've been a network engineer now for getting on for 20 years. The access layer has obviously been a big part of my life for those 20 years. And when I'm talking about the access layer, we're talking about how our users and their devices access our networks on premises. So in the majority of the cases these days, it's going to be wireless. It's going to be the MR access points. And what have we got then to enable access with those MR access points? So we've got WPA2 and WPA3 pre-shared keys. You configure your wireless with a pre-shared key. It's the tried and tested way of doing it over the years, and we do this at home, we can do it wherever we are. Now, pre-shared keys, whilst they're easy, they're not potentially always the most secure way, especially when we think in a business environment. There's a command you can run, I'm not going to show you on here. I don't want to be teaching people naughty stuff, but there is a command you can run in command prompt, and you can see the clear text password for that wireless network that you're connected to. And what does that mean? That means that if you've got a corporate network and you've pushed out that wireless password securely, you've configured it on your machines, anyone could really see that within your organization and then use it to connect their mobile devices or their personal devices to your network. So what we'd always advise is you put another solution in. It could be a third-party solution, such as a radius server or an authentication server or something like that. And Meraki can do that in the cloud, so you can use Meraki Cloud Authentication, where you can use your Meraki credentials to authenticate. That's one way of doing it. Another way of doing it is by integrating a radius server. And what I'll show you in the next few slides is Cisco Identity Services Engine, and now we can get from there. The Meraki platform has splash pages and get portals, and we can also configure a whole heap of wireless access controls and wired access controls, firewall policies and things like that I will show you from the Meraki dashboard later. One of the great things about this, for those of you who've been on the webinar series so far, is Cisco Umbrella. Cisco's web security solution, DNS security solution, can be integrated directly from the dashboard. So we can say, if Phil is connected to this network at this time, we can apply him this Cisco Umbrella policy. So I might not want Phil gambling during business hours, betting on Cheltenham or whatever. So I might block Bet365 from there. Then we've got the MS Access Switch family, if you like. So how do we control access here? So just like any normal switches that we have in our local area networks, we can assign VLANs. We can configure port security, port isolation. We can do access policies on the devices. Something that's really good around that sustainability piece that I keep going on about, and Phil will be doing a webinar about in the next few weeks, is port scheduling. So could we turn off all the switch ports in our environment after 5 o'clock because we don't need them, and potentially save power, save the environment there. And as I've said there, radius server integration. So I'll just have a drink. So where we've potentially got a lot of switches, hundreds if not thousands of devices connected to our network, we've got multiple SSIDs, we've potentially got complex needs for our environment, or maybe not. Maybe we just want to streamline and secure network access within our environment. Cisco have a network access control solution called Cisco Identity Services Engine. Now, without sounding like too much of a geek, this is one of my favorite things that we do here at Protos. I absolutely love getting involved in Cisco ICE deployments, designing them, deploying them for our clients. Unfortunately, I don't get to do much of that these days because I've got a team of network security engineers who go out and do it. But I was doing it last week for a customer. I absolutely love it. Why? Because this starts to implement zero trust in the workplace. And obviously zero trust is a big part of today's webinar. And near the end, I've got slides on what zero trust is. So zero trust is essentially, not trusting anything until we know what it is, who it is it secure, all of that stuff, and allowing that onto our network. ICE, when you put this into a network, especially a Meraki network as well, it's a much better experience for the users and the admins. A lot of our clients these days, and where we're adding value and really standing out from our competitors, in this environment is we're working with organizations who are going down that cloud route, and in a lot of cases are down that Microsoft cloud route. And so, Intune in their laptops, using Entra ID for single sign-on and all of that good stuff. And that's who we're working with, yet they still need networks. So because they're going cloud first on the management of their devices and their users, go cloud first on your network security. And what we're able to do, and I'll cover this in a slide shortly, is an administrator could just drop a user into a group, and we aim, using Cisco ICE, Meraki, Umbrella, all of that good stuff, the network will do all of its magic and just put them into a policy and apply that policy straight away. This reduces the admin overheads for administrators, and when we're in the mix, you've got a team of network security engineers to do this for you. All you need to do is drop them into an Entra ID group, and away they go. It simplifies network segmentation as well. Whether that be VLANs or other methods of doing it, security group tagging and things like that. We can segment your critical systems, such as servers and computers and things like that, from things which might pose more of a security risk. CCTV systems, Internet of Things devices, handheld scanners, things like that. You want to segment your network to prevent an attacker, if they get a foothold on a vulnerable CCTV system, for example, moving laterally within your network and accessing servers and things like that. There's a whole heap of cloud integrations and automation capabilities as well with Cisco ICE, and these are just some of its capabilities here on the right. We can look at the endpoint compliance. So, for example, before we allow one of our corporate machines on the network, can we check it to make sure its antivirus is running? Can we check it to make sure it's up to date? All of that good stuff. We can get visibility into what's on our network. So I know from working with some of our clients, who've got big, massive estates of IoT and things like that. I'm thinking about factories, dairy farms, zoos, all of those weird and wonderful organizations that we work with, where they will have sensors. They will have machines that count how much milk the cows are producing, all of this stuff on there, and it's just connected to the network. They need a way of controlling that. So when one of their engineers, and we all know what engineers can be like, they like to fill and play, when they've got a new tool they've bought off Amazon and they want to connect it to the network, they have to come and get that added into Cisco ICE. So we're providing secure access there. We can do rapid threat containment with Cisco ICE. So let's say we can configure a flow that the endpoint security detects that device is compromised and infected. We could potentially boot that device off the network straight away until that threat has been contained. And that feeds into that wider security ecosystem integration. So we can integrate Cisco ICE with a hell of a lot. In our scenarios, a lot of the work we do is it's an end-to-end Cisco solution, whereby they might put Cisco Meraki in or Cisco Enterprise switching, such as Catalyst. They'll have Cisco Umbrella, and we will integrate all those things via API. So a device will connect to Meraki, it will authenticate via ICE, ICE will return a Meraki group policy, and then that will return an umbrella policy and apply that umbrella policy. And that's what we do in schools. We do a hell of a lot of that in educational environments. So I've just got a few use cases then for you on what Cisco ICE actually can do. So the first scenario here is 802.1x ETLS. What the hell is that, you're saying? That's very techy. It's using protocols and things like that. All ETLS is certificate-based authentication on our network. So using a certificate, as I said before, WPA2 passwords, you can get them in clear text from the command line on your computer. You have to tell them to people, they get shared, all of this good stuff. When we're thinking about securing our networks then, we potentially just want our users to authenticate using a certificate because they have to be enrolled. A certificate can only be given to them because it's a trusted device or a trusted user. So it's a much more secure way of accessing our networks. So this could be for our wired users, for our Intune machines that connect to the wireless networks. Sorry, wired users. Same for the wireless users, connecting to Meraki access points or whatever that looks like. and even VPN users. So, users using Cisco Secure Client to connect into our environment over VPN. We can now entirely put Cisco ICE in the cloud. So we can deploy this from the Azure or the AWS marketplace. So you don't need any on-premises servers for this now, as you used to with many of these network access control solutions. Via REST API, we can now integrate that with Entra ID, Azure ID as it used to be known, and we can pull through your users and groups there to start applying policies into there and doing all kinds of weird and wonderful stuff depending on what group your users are in. I'll move on to what we can do shortly. Protos Networks also partnered with an organisation called Skepman. And what this means is, just take a step back. When I've deployed radius solutions throughout my career in the past, for organisations like Unilever, Warner Brothers, people like that, traditionally we have relied on Active Directory certificate services. And obviously this needs Active Directory, potentially on-premise servers, server licensing, all of this stuff. So you would have had to deploy this, configure group policy objects and all of this good stuff. With Skepman, that's a PKI, so your public key infrastructure, deployed direct within Azure. So it all connects in the cloud, and we just start to enroll all of your users and all of your devices via Intune. So really simple to do, more cost effective because you haven't got servers to run and all of that good stuff. And this is just building a wider network access control solution for you. So this is where we are moving with a lot of our customers now, away from the on-premises AD certificate services to deploying all of your security certificates from the cloud, deploying ICE in the cloud, and integrating it with your cloud security groups, such as your Entra ID groups and all of that good stuff. Another use case for this, though, is devices that don't have the ability to authenticate with a certificate. And you can imagine if you're a school, for example, or a factory or something like that, you're going to have devices which just need to connect to the network, but we can't put a certificate on them. So they will need to use a pre-shared key to access the network. Now, we might still want to segment these devices because they're connected on our network, and we don't want attackers, if they hack a CCTV camera, for example, to move laterally. So one of the great things you can do with Cisco ICE and Meraki is something called identity pre-shared key. So in this scenario, we've got Meraki MR access point, and we've got a wireless network, one SSID called Corp IoT. Now from that one SSID, we could have a lot of pre-shared keys. So in the first instance, we configure this in ICE. If the pre-shared key is Star Wars 789, then this returns a profile of a CCTV camera. And in this instance, we're just going to put that camera into VLAN 100 and do it that way. Let's say we then have a wireless printer connect. That will connect using the pre-shared key Spider-Man 01. And what we also do is put the MAC address of these devices into ICE. So again, if that pre-shared key is shared, they can't get onto the network unless they give us the MAC address of that printer or that CCTV camera. And then that will be dropped into VLAN 110. Another use case of this, and we do this a lot in private schools, we've worked with a lot of private schools over the year, where they have students who are boarders. This is a really good use case for this. So obviously the student devices might connect via a more secure method, such as a certificate or BYOD using credentials or something like that. But students, because they're away from home, they're boarding, they'll bring their PlayStations. I don't know, I don't game anymore, but whatever else, Phil, what the kids are, they game, I don't know, Nintendo, whatever it is, they'll bring all this stuff and they want to connect it to the network. So they could give the IT manager at the school the MAC address of their device. They will get the pre-shared key Batman 55, and then they connect to that network. They'll be given the profile games or consoles or something, put into VLAN 120, but then from ICE we can return a lot more. We can return a Meraki group policy that says student, and that might limit them so they can't use this network during school hours, for example. So we're doing, access there based on time and date and things like that. And then Meraki, via its API with Umbrella, can put in a content filtering control there. So, you know, block harmful content, because we've seen it before. Kids will find weird and wonderful ways to get around content restrictions, and they're even using the browser within their games console. So, you know, if they're trying to get to dangerous things on the internet, we can block them there. So that's how we can do network access control on one SSID using multiple pre-shared keys for that SSID. It's quite a cool feature, and the integration between Meraki and Cisco ICE. Just a few other use cases then I'll go through quickly here. By integrating it with Azure AD or Entra ID, let's say we've got the IT team. They authenticate, that user's in the group IT, they can have VLAN 100 and they can have an unrestricted policy. If the Azure AD group is a contractor and they're on site, working on site, we can apply a policy called limited access. You know, and they might only get access to the servers that they need to access to do their contract and then get off site, and we'll put them in a different VLAN there. If it was a school and the Azure AD group is student, we can apply a content filter and then put them in a different VLAN there. Or if we have a bandwidth abuser, someone who's always smashing, I don't know, streaming services or something like that, we could drop them into Azure AD group called bandwidth abuser, and then in Meraki apply a policy of 1 megabit per second. That's all they can have, and put them in VLAN 999. So they're going to have a really bad day, but they're going to learn to stop watching Netflix and all that whilst they're at work. So that's one use case. A few more. You know, on the MAC address front, as we saw there, if the MAC address group is in CCTV, we can try a VLAN. We can do posturing on our devices. So via the Cisco Secure Connect, Cisco Secure Client, we can say, is their antivirus disabled? If it is, they can be quarantined and put into VLAN 999. You can't have network access until you've enabled your antivirus. We can also do profiling with ICE. So we might not want to put all of the MAC addresses of our Canon printers, it's about 200 of them across the network. We've got a really lazy network admin who can't be bothered doing it and keeping on top of it. So we could do profiling. If it's a Canon printer, and ICE will use a whole heap of intelligent databases and scanning and things like that and say, yes, I think this device is a Canon printer, or it's an Axis CCTV camera, or it's a Cisco phone or something like that. We can apply the policy to it that way, in a more intelligent way, rather than the admin having to configure that stuff. You sacrifice a bit of security there, but obviously the admin overhead's reduced in that scenario. So that's Cisco ICE then. The next bit of access I'm going to look at is SASE. So with Cisco Secure Connect. So SASE, as Phil will know, because he's sat in a lot of these webinars with me, and you know, he's talking about this stuff day in, day out, is quite a broad subject. I'm not going to deep dive into SASE today, but if anyone's interested, more than happy to go over that with you, but Phil's got the recording from the previous webinars. At a very high level then, what is SASE? SASE is the convergence of the network and security world, if you like. So the COVID-19 pandemic meant that organizations moved to a hybrid workforce type of situation. And straight after the pandemic, we were speaking with a lot of network and IT managers, and the term that kept coming up was, I want my offices to be like an internet cafe. So where their users can go in if they want, they can go to any office, and they can connect securely, but they can also get the same experience when they work from home. So what we need to do is make sure that that user experience is the same in the office as it is at home. We need to make sure they can get to their apps. We need to make sure that they're secure as well. So how we've pretty much done that is pushed a lot of our traditional security solutions, such as firewalls, web gateways, data leak prevention, intrusion prevention, pushed it up into the cloud. So how do we do that then? So for our users and third parties, you know, let's say it's a corporate device. We push out, you know, we configure our agent to always go via that SASE fabric. So Cisco's SASE fabric in this scenario that we're going to talk about today is called Cisco Secure Connect. It's an amalgamation of Cisco Meraki and Cisco Umbrella. And our users will be connected to that fabric all of the time, going through it, doing content filtering, looking for malicious traffic, blocking malicious domains, all of that good stuff, and applying our security policy. So as I said earlier, blocking gambling and all that good stuff. Our office locations will deploy a software-defined WAN using Cisco Meraki. And all of our office locations will egress via the internet, via this SASE fabric into our internal apps and things like that as well. Using Meraki MX appliances, Meraki Z3, Z4s, all that good stuff. And what they're trying to get to is they're trying to get to our internal applications, and I'll show you some of this later. They're trying to get to the internet. They're trying to get to the applications we use day in, day out, such as Microsoft 365 and all of that good stuff. And we need to make sure that it's secure and they can get to those devices, and we know what the devices are, their devices are healthy and all that good stuff. So that's what SASE is trying to do. It's basically pushing network security off into the cloud. Sorry, I've got a very dry mouth this morning. And when we consult with our clients on a roadmap to SASE, we usually look at a few things, and this is a slide from the last webinar we did. The first thing we do is we look, has that organisation got its identity in order? So a lot of organisations that are going cloud first and moving their security and all this good stuff to the cloud will probably have an cloud-based identity provider, such as Microsoft Entra ID, Duo, Okta, someone like that. Have you got that identity in place? If they have, and they've got multi-sites, they've got AWS, they've got Azure environments and all that, we potentially deploy an SD-WAN, a Cisco Meraki SD-WAN. Get them off MPLS, start connecting their sites and all that good stuff. And we very rarely put in an SD-WAN solution without a secure web gateway overlaying it. Why is that? Because as I just mentioned, our users move off the SD-WAN. A lot of the time they're at home, they're in a coffee shop, they're on a train, they're in an airport, wherever they are. So we need to make sure that their web traffic and all of that good stuff is secure whilst they're off the network. So we usually, if we deploy a Meraki SD-WAN, we will deploy a Cisco umbrella secure web gateway or DNS security solution above that. Then you can upgrade that to full SASE. And this is essentially where we start to put all of your traffic through that SASE fabric, as we just spoke about. And then from there, we enable zero trust access, zero trust network access to access our applications and all that good stuff. That's a typical roadmap. It's not everyone follows that roadmap. Some people put the zero trust first, then go to SASE, they don't go to SASE. Every organization is different, but that's how it pretty much looks from there. From a perspective of how this came about then and how Cisco approached this, so it's an amalgamation in many of the ways we do it with Cisco Security Connect of that Meraki piece and Cisco Umbrella, for those of you who know what that is. Again, if you don't, we can provide more information, about that.
Yeah, just reach out for a demo.
Yeah, so you look to connect it and then secure it. So looking at network as a service, Meraki SD-WAN, connecting all of our sites. But then we also bring an umbrella. So we bring in things like Cloud Access Security Broker. What cloud apps are our users allowed to access? For example, can they access Dropbox? Yes. But what can then they do in Dropbox? We can let them download but not upload, so they can't put our organization data up there, for example. Zero trust network access. We might only want our contractors to access certain applications and they'll be on their own personal devices. So they will go through the SASE fabric to connect to. In a moment, I'll demo Nessus, which is one of our applications. We might only want them to be allowed to access that. And we might want to look at the security of a device before it connects or whatever that is. We might want to push our egress firewall rules out to the cloud. So, we'll allow ports 80, 443, they can get to this IP. We're blocking this IP, whatever it is. And instead of those firewall rules now sitting on your network edge at your office, they're sitting up in the cloud. And then wherever our users are, that firewall rule is being applied, whether that homes or wherever that is. And then secure web gateway features, again, blocking malicious domains, all of that good stuff that Cisco umbrella is known for. That's what we're trying to do here under one fabric.
Before you move on quickly, a question in the chat is, can you help understand what type of organisation SASE and Zero Trust is aimed at?
Yes, so SASE and Zero Trust, specifically, if your organisation, and we do work with some organisations like this that are very on-premise, and a lot of manufacturing and things are like this. On-premise, Active Directory, not really adopting the cloud, very averse to the cloud. It's probably not the conversation for you. However, we have got manufacturing again on the opposite side, who have got a lot of third-party contractors. We've got one customer, for example, a lot of contractors, over on the continent, in the Netherlands, Germany, Switzerland, places like that, who have to access their internal systems. It'd be perfect for them. Organisations that have got, let's say they've got 6 offices, their users move throughout the offices, all of that good stuff, perfect for them, but they work at home a lot as well, so absolutely perfect for them.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, okay. Fabric then. So the Secure Connect fabric. So this is overall what it looks like. Again, it's quite techy, but I'll go into it a little bit more. And this is all about how our users access and all that good stuff, how they access our internal apps, how they access the internet, how they access private and public clouds. So in the first instance, if our users are on-premise and they're in the office, they're probably going to connect to the fabric using the Meraki SD-WAN or IPsec tunnels. Doesn't have to be Meraki. You can also integrate other firewalls and routers and all of that into the Secure Connect fabric. So you connect to that from the office wherever you are. Your non-web internet traffic, that would just go out, via the firewall, via the cloud delivered firewall. If it's allowed out, if it's not allowed out, it'd be blocked. For example, what port 1723, which is a VPN port, we might block that, for example. If it is web traffic, it's going to be inspected. So, as I said before, if it's Dropbox traffic, we'll push that through the Secure Web Gateway and say, is that allowed? Are we allowed to upload, download? Is it an exe file? All of that good stuff, and we'll do it from there. Your private application traffic, that'll be routed through over the SD-WAN, but that will go over the same SASE fabric as well. Scenario 2 then, if we've got a managed endpoint that we want to access our devices, we'd have the Cisco Secure Client deployed on that. And soon, I'll show you near the end, there will be a full Zero Trust module coming into Cisco Secure Client. For the time being, it's just like connecting to a VPN. But you're not connecting to a VPN on one of our firewalls. You're connecting to a VPN essentially in Cisco's fabric, in a Cisco data center, wherever you are in the world, Sao Paulo, London, Frankfurt, no matter where that is. And this is going to become seamless, and you will just connect to this fabric no matter where you are in the world. And again, the same rules apply as when we were on premise. You go through our cloud delivered firewall. If it's not web traffic, it'll be natted and out it goes as per normal. If it is web traffic, it'll be inspected and then go out. And then we can access our private applications if we're allowed to, and again, that will go through the firewall. So for example, can finance access our internal finance app? Yes, we can do that. In scenario 3, we might have a contractor. For example, we might have brought someone in on a 3-month contract to sort out our finance systems, for example. They will go, so we'll give them an Entra ID account. They will go through our ZTNA proxy, the Zero Trust proxy that's in Secure Connect. That will be integrated with Microsoft. So they will be presented, they'll authenticate, and then we'll allow them private access into our environment there, but we've made sure their browser's secure and all of that good stuff. So that's what's going on in that scenario. Last couple of slides then before I jump into the demo are around Zero Trust. So what is Zero Trust then? So obviously this is a key part of the wider SASE thing. It's actually been around for quite a while now. It's a concept that was pioneered by Forrester Research. So in these webinars a lot, you've heard me talk about Gartner. Forrester are another research organisation with here in our industry. It was conceived on the belief that, you know, I was just saying about those organizations with kind of a legacy setup where you have an edge firewall, a big next-gen firewall at the edge, everything on premise, and everything stays in. So, you know, you have your mail servers, all that on site. That's not happening anymore. That castle and moat approach to security is changing. And now organizations are moving off into the cloud, you know, Salesforce, Google, whatever cloud apps we use, stuff is moving off. So we need a way to check that the devices and the users who are accessing our systems are trusted, they are who they say they are or what they say they are, and that their configuration is up to date and all that good stuff. So that's where this holistic approach, this zero trust came from. And the underlying principle is this: never trust, always verify. What you can see on the right there is, for those of you who use the Cisco Secure Client, coming soon is the zero trust access. So obviously you've got your AnyConnect VPN at the minute. I want to show you in a minute, you'll see that we connect off to our fabric that way when I'm outside the office. But that zero trust, you'll register for your Azure, and then your devices will just always be connected to the SASE, the zero trust fabric. So that's why I've dropped that in there. One last slide then before I jump into the demo is, you'll see in a moment when I demo our applications and our SASE platform, there are three things involved. So we've integrated Duo Security, which is a Cisco product, with our Microsoft environment. And there's going to be three things involved when I connect to any device, any application that we've got for, you know, remotely. It'll be my laptop, it'll be me as the user, as the skin and flesh, and then there'll be my MFA device, in this case, my mobile device. So when we come to connect to our single sign-on, you know, using Azure AD and then our zero trust fabric to get into our clouds and our applications and all that good stuff, is Duo will look at my laptop. It'll say, are we up to date? Is it a trusted device? Has it got a certificate on it? Is it running our EDR? Is it password protected? All of that. So that'll make sure that the device is trusted and it's something that we know. It'll then look at me and make sure that, you know, I'm using the right username and password. I'm responding to a push notification on my phone. My phone will use biometrics, Face ID, to make sure that it is me. And am I coming from a trusted location? So if I'm logging in this morning here in Chester, and then I'm logging in Shanghai in 45 minutes time, that's not right. So, you know, some kind of extra security should kick in there. And then it'll look at my MFA device as well, you know, my Protos mobile. Is it supported? Has it got a PIN code enabled? Is it trusted? Is it in our MDM? Is it rooted? It's not rooted or jailbroken and all that good stuff. So that's the zero trust that we go with, you know, and we use Duo Security on there. So quick demo there. Just bear with me a second. So I'm going to demo a few things here. I'm aware we're a bit short on time, Bill, so I'll go.
Yeah, we started 2 minutes late though, so bear with us.
Yeah. So let me just, the screen's about to front here. So as we've said, and as you've seen in the webinars over the past few weeks, this is the Meraki dashboard. You know, and this is where we manage, you know, whatever we need to manage from in here. So as I mentioned at the start of the webinar, access points and access switches, you know, we can configure network access in a whole heap of different ways on our environment. So as you can see here, we've got devices connecting to, you know, our environment, wired, wireless, whatever that looks like here. And if we take wireless, for example, we might want to control how users, devices, whatever that is, access our environment. So in here, this is a Tesla SSID we're setting up to, you know, integrating with Cisco ICE. This is something that the guys are labbing at the moment. So as you can see here, access control within the Meraki dashboard. We could leave this network open with no encryption. Wouldn't recommend that on your corporate network, probably. Some guest networks might just be open. You know, you might not want to bother your guests as they come in. Pre-shared keys, Mac-based access control wouldn't have encryption. As you see, enterprise here using Meraki Cloud, my Radius server, local authentication, whatever that looks like. WPA3, you know, that's the encryption standards on there. As you can see here, we've integrated this with Cisco ICE, and we can apply VLAN tagging, change your VLAN tagging, all of that good stuff on there as well. Directly from the Meraki dashboard as well, obviously you can apply firewall and traffic shaping to an SSID, to a wireless SSID. So, you know, layer 2 LAN isolation, so you can isolate devices from a layer 2 perspective there. Something I'd always recommend for guest networks and things like that, to stop, you know, the guest network fancy accessing corporate devices, you should just add an I rule in there. You save that and that'll be blocked from getting on the network. I'm going to allow that because that'll block access to our Radius server in there. As you can see here, we've recently moved to the full SASE solution, so we haven't got Umbrella integrated at the moment here. However, you can enable Umbrella integration there, and that's where you'd apply your Umbrella policies. So, you know, if this was a guest network, you might apply guest policy and all of that good stuff in there. This would integrate with Cisco ICE then. Again, I'm probably going to do a separate webinar on Cisco ICE, but, you know, just from your perspective, this is what Cisco ICE looks like. Bear with me a second. So policy sets, you know, we can say if it's an Azure, we can apply this policy. We can send, you know, an authorization policy back. It's Protos staff. They will get an umbrella profile of staff content filtering, for example. And as I keep mentioning, you know, people, we might not want them gambling. So then because that policy is assigning it to me, I might want to go to bet365.com and put on a bet, but, you know, we're going to get blocked by Cisco Umbrella in that scenario. So that's blocking access there to certain applications and things like that. That's kind of how that works then. I'm not going to go too much into ICE because we're short on time and I do want to move on. But again, if you want to know more about ICE, you know, we can do that at a later date. Access policies then on our network, you know, on our switching and all of that good stuff. So, you know, we can add access policies here, and this could be Cisco ICE. We can configure, you know, 802.1x. We can configure our Radius servers, all of that good stuff in here. What we can also do is configure port profiles, configure hundreds of ports at once, put them in a VLAN, all of this good stuff. But then for the next layer up, if you don't want to go through and manually configure ports, if you just want to put all of your ports as one configuration across your entire Meraki estate, just connect it there to Cisco ICE and let Cisco ICE supply the VLANs. If it's a phone connected, put it in VLAN 20. If it's a CCTV camera, put it in VLAN 100. You can see there where the management overheads for your network become really, really simple using something like Cisco ICE. Then, as I mentioned, you know, we want to provide secure connectivity for our staff and our contractors no matter where they are. So what you can see here is Cisco Secure Connect. And this is essentially the Meraki and the Umbrella dashboards merging together. So what we can see here is we can see all of the traffic coming here from wherever our users are. So this isn't just our users that are on the network here in our office or in AWS or any of our remote sites. This is traffic no matter where they are at home or something like that. So we're monitoring traffic and we can apply policy here. A lot of these features coming from the, you know, traditionally that we're in Umbrella are now coming into here. So when we connect to this fabric, we do it in a few ways. And let me just pull up just bear with me a sec, my screen's about to front. Cisco Secure Client. So at the minute, because I am on site, my Umbrella essentially will be going out via the cloud delivered firewall that will be going out that way. So that's what blocked me in Bet365, for example. When I'm off the site, I have Cisco's fabric to connect to using AnyConnect VPN. And as I said before, eventually this will become just that zero trust module and I'll always be connected to it. But we also connect there and it'll go to the nearest location of Frankfurt or Germany if I'm in the EU. We can also set this to connect to you know, wherever we are. And they're Cisco's own data centers. They're not anything that Protos owns, but it's a private network that's private to Protos and integrated with all of our other systems. So that's where we go from there. What we can do there then is, just bear with me a second, we can posture our devices that are connecting to that fabric. So these are, you know, our corporate devices, if you like, that are connected via the Cisco Secure client, and we can make sure that they are secure. So as you can see here, this is the policy I've configured for us to access this. We have to be on the latest version of Windows on Mac. We have to be running CrowdStrike Falcon, which is our EDR. We have to have a firewall enabled. We have to have BitLocker or Firewall enabled. And if we don't have this, we can't access our fabric. And that's getting a little bit more into the zero trust piece there. Where you're not a user or not a Protos member of staff, for example, or you're one of our pen testers, our security testers, so they won't have VPNs and their zero trust agents running whilst they're on a customer engagement. Why? Because they're up to no good. They're trying to hack their network. So they don't want all of our security on the network and trying to turn all their traffic off. So they have that disabled usually when they're on site. But they might want to get into our internal applications. Or they might be a contractor, again, and we want to allow them in. So we use a system called Radis internally for our pen testing writing software. And that's what they will do. They will just browse to Radis using a URL that Cisco give us, because our internal apps are hidden behind that. You know, we have Nessus, we have all heaps of things, but you might have a finance system or something like that. And what we want to do is we want to control access into these applications. So if we go here, we look at browser access into our internal applications. We can see here, Nessus, you know, all this good stuff. You know, if I look at Radis, I've got the pen testing team in there. Cisco ICE has got the network security team, all of this stuff. So I want to get to Nessus, which is our vulnerability scanner that you know, we've got up in AWS. Sorry, I thought I had this ready to go. So just bear with me a second. So when we set up an internal application, Cisco essentially will give us, no, we don't want to do that, don't want to do that, sorry. They will give us, as you can see here, a URL. So I copy that link address, I go to a new browser, and I put that in. We're essentially connecting to Cisco Zero Trust Fabric here. It'll redirect me, as you just saw there, to our identity service provider. In this scenario here, it's Azure, it's Entra ID. I'm going to connect using my credentials. Now, all being well, I shouldn't be allowed to connect here, but it is going to zero trust me. So it's going there, it's then handing me off to Duo. Now in the background, that's checking the security of my device. I've got CrowdStrike running, all of that good stuff, and then it'll give me a 3-digit code. Again, to prevent against, you know, bombardment attacks and things like that. Now I should be blocked from that application. There we go. So I don't have access to that application because I'm not in the right group or something like that, whatever that looks like.
Just a quick question.
Yeah.
While you're on that, do you have to use Duo, or can you use like?
No, you can bring your own. So if you've invested in Microsoft, you can bring your own Microsoft stuff over. Yeah, that's that. Yeah, we use Duo. I prefer it. It's easier. We're a Duo supplier and all of that good stuff. Now I can't get access to that, so I might put a ticket in, you know, with the security team here and say I need access into Nessus. What I can do is go into here. I can add me. You can add your Azure. Again, this is just pulling all this through from Azure. There. Save that. And then all being well, again, this is a demo, so please, you know, understand that things do go wrong. If I go back into here now, again, I'll have to go through the process again. And this is when I'm off-site. You know, this is, I could be anywhere, so you can imagine I could be a contractor or something like that. Enter. I'll be zero trusted again. A device is secure. Go into there, verify. Biometrics. No. There we go. So we've got into our internal application there, which is Tenable, which is vulnerability scanner we use for vulnerability scanning. Yeah, so that's the end of my demo. Again, a whirlwind tour there, I am aware. So any more Q&A, Phil?
No, we've answered it as we've gone along, so thanks for that. And yeah, I appreciate we kept you a little bit longer than we said we would, so thank you for sticking around. And join us for the next webinar, which is on the 14th of May, and that one is all about the Meraki security cameras. That one itself will be hosted by myself and people from Meraki. So it'll be really good, really interesting to see what you can do above and beyond just looking at people on the camera. So join us then, and again, thank you for sticking around.